So consequently, I get to go to all these different places, maybe once or twice a year, and hold boot fitting seminars. And there, once again, those people are real kind to us. I'll hold a seminar maybe for 100 or 200 people at maybe the Phoenix market. I've been to Phoenix, Arizona for their Western market there, holding a seminar. Been to Nashville, Tennessee.
Minneapolis.
Been to Minneapolis. You came out to the airport to see me off there, I remember. And I've been to the West Coast 4 times. You'd think if an old boy couldn't get his point across in 3 times, he'd quit, wouldn't you? But I've had the opportunity of going a lot of places, which I really do enjoy and appreciate their invitations. But that's one of the reasons we stay out among them, I think.
One of the things you brought it up, boot fitting. You are probably considered to be the foremost authority in fitting Western boots, cowboy boots, what we know as cowboy boots in this country. How did you get to know how to do that?
Well, it's real simple, Ken. Real simple. There are no books put out on fitting boots. You can go to school and learn to be an engineer, or have schools, I feel quite sure, where you brush up a little bit on being a television announcer, a few things like that. But there are no schools on fitting, not even fitting shoes. Now, I could get up on the soapbox pretty tall when we get to that. It's a crying shame. I'll put this in. But people just cram shoes, and I know we've discussed this off camera a lot of times. You're extremely hard to fit, even in shoes. Well, the shoes are boots. But I had the opportunity from 47 to 52 of working under about as near a genius as I've ever been around. And maybe he'd dearly love to hear me say that, or maybe it would stun him. But that was Andy Dixon. Of the old Dixon Boot Company, the Dixon Brothers. Andy and his brother, Noble, they started helping make boots when they were 4 or 5 years old, I suppose, something like that. And just over the years, Andy put a little bit here and a little bit there, a little common sense here and a little common sense there. And then we added all that together, and I realized how much he knew about boot making. So every time he stopped, I ran up on his heels. I was trying to learn something. And then I tried to go on with his theory a little bit, even after I opened up the cow lot in 52. And I know when I was a kid, and I know when you were possibly a kid, you'd ask somebody what size shoe they wore. Well, I wear a number 9, number 10. They didn't say wear a 10B or 10D or 10A. There was no width to it. There was just one width then. You wore a number. And if the darn thing is too big, well, you just put her on a little shorter until it got to where your foot was longer than whatever it was you'd wrapped around it. But we learned widths and lengths had much to do with making of boots. Of course, it's just 4 basic parts of fitting a boot or fitting a shoe. A boot more nearly, I'd say, than shoes, because I don't like to get into shoe fitting because I'm not a connoisseur of fitting feet. Of course, I don't know very many people that are. But in fitting boots, there's just 4 basic parts of fitting boots. And that sounds so simple, yet it's so complicated for so many people. But I really don't think it'll happen in my lifetime, but during my lifetime, I don't intend to quit fighting that boot fit. And maybe somewhere along the way there'll be some article that I've written surface in years to come, and I have 2 sons that are active in our business, and they're fitting boots now. And I told them, I said, that's all I ask, is the older you get a little bit raunchier. Just stand up on an apple box and say, let's talk about a boot fit. And I don't think I'm on the wrong track, but it's very difficult when you don't have very many people helping you. Now, I had Sam Lou Casey, who built a fine boot in San Antonio. Sam kind of helped me fight this boot fit, but Sam isn't here anymore. So when I went to his funeral a few years ago in San Antonio, There were many people in the industry walked up to me and openly admitted, said, well, there were two, now there's one. And I said, well, all I know to do is just double up to catch up. I don't intend to quit as long as I live. And I don't. I think we ought to fit feet or put them back in the box, whether it's shoes or boots.
Bravo. You're known in and around the Wichita Falls area, in this trade area, in the last few years, especially for your television commercials. A lot of people don't understand them, Nat. A lot of people say, why does he go out there and pay money to get on television to tell them something about life? In a lot of cases. Sometimes you sell a little merchandise, but more it's you. How did you get the idea to do that? And
Ken, I don't think that's real. I don't think that's a bad question. In fact, I appreciate you asking it. First of all, I think possibly, and I've never given this answer before, this is the first time I've ever given, and I suppose people that have never seen one of my commercials would, this wouldn't be too interesting to them. But I've kind of had to bull my way along. I'm not the most educated person in the world. And I've kind of had to bull my way along, and even announcing rodeos. I've announced some pretty big rodeos. And since 1947, of course I don't anymore, but I have. And I've been thrust in among some awful big wheels, some awful highly educated people. And I've just kind of had to be thrown in there with them. You kind of had to go along with and do the best you could. Well, all the time I had this radio show. You know, I used to have a radio show also for 6 hours.
That's right.
4 to 6 hours. Well, it was fully sponsored. I didn't have a word of script. It all had to be ad lib. Well, I got to the point where I disliked commercials very much. And I disliked them especially from the standpoint of having to see how many words I could get into 30 seconds for somebody. They wanted to get the most they could possibly get out of that 30 seconds. When I thought, if I get one point across with my vocabulary, I'm going to be flying. And back in the back of my mind, somewhere I said, somewhere along the way, if I ever get to where I can do what I want to on a commercial, that's what I'm going to do, what I want to. And when I go to cut a commercial, if I want to hum for 30 seconds, I'm darn sure going to hum for 30 seconds. And everybody on every commercial you ever saw, they're either the biggest or the only one in the business. And nobody ever comes up. I think I've only heard one commercial where they admitted they were the second biggest. But before they get through, they're trying to get to be the biggest. So I do what I want to do. And we have had people call and say, ask the boys at the store, does he get those commercials out of a book? Well, I have to laugh, you know. Who would write something that insignificant? 9 times out of 10 when I go to cut a commercial, I don't know when I'm walking there to sit down what I'm going to do. And I've always felt like when I got through, you could tell it too. And I think that's what stuns them, that I'll go out there and pay good money for a commercial and basically not say anything, especially about the store. And I don't know of anybody else that feels that strongly about what they want to do. But if I want to talk about something that's happening over here in the community or whatever I feel like doing, I feel refreshed. I feel like I got 30 seconds off my mind. It was my money, and I spent it the way I wanted to.